Now, like I said, your standards are where you end up in life. But here's the danger. Let's say you have a standard that you want to make $1 million a year US. And let's say in the real world you actually drop below that standard and you're making 700,000 US. And what you're doing is not working. You're trying to get back up that $1 million, but it seems no matter what you do, it doesn't make a difference. You just can't get ahead. After a while, your brain will say, you know what, this is no good. I have so much pain here, and you'll actually lower your own standard if you feel too much pain. Then what happens is it becomes a vicious cycle that starts to get worse and worse and worse. And before you know it, you'll say, man, you know, this whole thing is not working. I'm just trying so hard. I'm not getting anywhere. And this sort of negative feedback loop starts happening. And before you know it, you start lowering your standard a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. And then you're almost find yourself living in that life of what's close to poverty, in this sort of totally disempowered state where you're not getting the things you want in life and essentially not really living life even close to the highest level. Listen, your standards are crucial. They represent your musts in life, the bottom line. So one of the things we're going to do here is actually identify what your standards currently are. And then we'll look at whether or not they suit your vision. In other words, does your standards match your vision? And if they don't, we're going to raise them, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Now, before I go any further here, there are two sides to this equation I want to go through. One side is people who have incredibly high standards, but they actually lack the skill sets in the real world to make their standards a reality. Then you have the other side of the equation, which is someone that has really, really low standards, but they have tons of skill. In both situations, what you have essentially is dissonance, right? In one case, high standards, but you need to learn stuff in order to really make those standards a reality. Else, eventually what will happen is what? You'll go out there, try something, fail at it, and eventually lower your standards. Or you might have really, really high standards, and you lack the skill, and you end up feeling pain on top of pain on top of pain because, you know, what your musts are not materializing in the real world, right? So essentially, again, what you'll do is you'll eventually drop your standards to match what your real world skill level is. And even worse than that is this sort of this X factor with standards, is that occasionally life, you know, throws us these little setbacks, and all of a sudden, you know, life, bam, hits you between the eyes with some really, really awful news. You might lose a job, find yourself in a bad financial situation, and all of a sudden what started as a little bit of a downward spiral becomes a massive downward spiral, and you find yourself winding up in that negative box, so to speak, of poverty, of, you know, a disempowered life, and really becoming a person at the lowest level of standards, which is really poor standards. So let's start by defining exactly where your standards are right now, and then we'll look at how you can increase them. And this is called turning your shoulds into musts. What does that mean? Well, your musts are the things in life that you must have. You see, we always get our musts, but we very seldom get our shoulds. In fact, the word should is the most disempowering word in the English language. To say I should have this or I should have that. I mean, in my world, either you must have something or you really don't need it in your life. As the saying goes, if you keep using the word should, you end up shoulding all over yourself, okay? So you need to reframe that word should and turn it into the word must.